In case you missed it this week, the Jaguars reported to voluntary off-season workouts, and their quarterback Trevor Lawrence talked about his excitement for the Liam Cohen era in Jacksonville.
I know from a player standpoint, everybody's excited. Everybody in the locker room's pumped to be back. And then, you know, the coaching side, you can feel the energy and the excitement. And those guys are up here working all off-season, trying to get everything ready. So they're chomping at the bit by the time we get in because they get to actually do what they love and coach and have the players around.
Mina, how do you see this Liam Cohen-Trevor Lawrence marriage working?
I think, well, if the offense looks anything like it did in Tampa Bay. One thing I thought that Liam Cohen did really well with Baker Mayfield was get him to throw the ball quickly. And that's something that Trevor Lawrence has been very good at over the course of his career. His ability to throw the ball quickly, accurately, I think is probably one of his strongest attributes as a quarterback. So if he can lean into that, maybe marry the run and pass a little bit better than it's been in Jacksonville, that's a good starting point to see this offense improve. The
New England Patriots are another team with a new head coach, which means they got to start their workouts this week. And cornerback Marcus Jones talked about the addition of wide receiver Stephon Diggs to their roster.
He's been in the league for a little minute, and you know, he has one of those unique traits. Whenever it comes down to it, he's very strong as a receiver. You know, he's not the crazy size that people always think, but just having him on the team is great to have as well.
Field, they add Stephon Diggs. What else can they do in the draft to add to that wide receiver room?
Yeah, the Patriots currently own number 38. Some of the players that are available or should be available on that based off my big board include Ohio State's Emeka Egbuka. Of course, Mike Vrabel, an Ohio State alum, I'm sure has done plenty of work on him. Jayden Higgins, big-bodied wide receiver, spent 2 seasons at Iowa State, ran a 4.47 at the Combine, 6'2", nearly 220 pounds. And then finally, one more name that I think has some value there as well would be Jack Besh from TCU. He was at one point at LSU on the same team as Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. He had more catches as a true freshman than anybody else on that team. This kid's the real deal.
New York Jets were another team that started their offseason workouts this week. Their new quarterback, Justin Fields, talked about the journey that landed him in New York.
I did what I was asked to do, and I've never had a problem with that. I've always been a team player. I've always been, advocating on, putting, myself behind the team. Of course, the more time you have in the league, the more experience you have. So, like I said, I think I'm, progressing and getting better each and every year. So, like I said, I'm excited to get things rolling this year.
Total QBR is a stat that goes back to 2006. That's 19 years worth of data. This is a look at each team's quarterback seasons where they had at least a 50 QBR, which is average. Chargers have 18. That's the most. Phillip Rivers, Justin Herbert makes some sense. All the way on the right, you see the Jets. They had 4 of the last 19 seasons in which they had a QBR less than 50, or more than 50, at least 50, excuse me. Justin Fields had a 51 QBR with the Steelers last season, would have tied Mark Sanchez in 2010 for the 4th best by a Jets quarterback in that time. So, Marcus, knowing that the bar, yes, the face is telling me, the bar is fairly low that he has to clear. But could Justin Fields finally be the answer in New York?
If he middle of the pack quarterback this year, they're going to give him $400 million based on what we done watched the quarterback play be in New York for the last 5 years. Look, man, this is the seminal moment for Justin Fields. I feel like it's going to be his job. Last year, we still had those questions. Would Russell Wilson come back and take his job? Obviously, that played out the way it did, and Russ became the starter the rest of the way. He's back reunited with Garrett Wilson, somebody that he understands. Garrett Wilson also has been in purgatory, trying to figure out what the hell going on. We thought we were I was supposed to ascend to a top 5 guy with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback. So there'll be some rapport there. But the thing about it is, you look at this team, Breece Hall is in the backfield, so you don't have to lean on Justin being a runner as much. He has to become really good at the middle of the field, intermediate routes. There are things in his game that he needs to clean up. And I feel like we've given Justin Fields enough of a pass up until this point. It's time for him to perform at a very high level and let everybody know what he is as a quarterback in the league. And I think this will be the opportunity to give a good enough sample size, MK.
I think that's it, right? Like, he needs to establish his identity as a quarterback, his strengths, because thus far it's really been all over the place. Like, there were some high highs in Chicago. Folks forget. There's a reason why Bears fans were a little apprehensive about moving on from him as a runner. He was so explosive, threw a beautiful deep ball. but then he took way too many sacks and held on to the football too long. I think in Pittsburgh, he improved in those metrics. Time to throw, the sack rate both came down, but he was also less aggressive there. In part, I think those things were tied. So I think with the Jets, you kind of want to see the marriage of both of those two things. You do want to see him play faster. You do want to see him take fewer sacks. But I also want to see those deep shots off of play action that I assume their new offensive coordinator, Tanner Engstrand, coming from Detroit, is going to ask him to do. The intermediate part of the field, Marcus, you talked about that as well. I think attacking that aggressively is going to be important. So, I think for Justin, this is an opportunity to take the lessons he's learned from his career along the way, but can show continued improvement, because if he doesn't, this might be his last chance to start.
Field, we look ahead to the draft. What do you imagine the Jets can do to help support Fields and get the most out of him?
First of all, if you're looking for any evidence that this is a new New York Jets franchise, I don't know that any team has held things closer to the vest in the pre-draft process than the New York Jets. They feel like the mystery team to everybody in the top 10. So let's just use some logical candidates plus the Jets' positions of needs right now to assess what could happen at number 7. Armand Membu from Missouri, who improved his stock about as much as anybody not named Cam Ward or Tyler Warren this past season, would be a very sensible fit for the Jets' big right tackle hole. He had a tremendous season last year. He's a 20-year-old. He's got excellent physicality and also a very good athlete in pass protection. The Jets lost Morgan Moses to the Patriots in free agency. Tyler Warren from Penn State, I just mentioned a moment ago. He fits really every offense, but the Jets are looking for way more out of that tight end spot. They have been pining for a tight end that can be a difference maker in quite some time. I'll give you a name. We talked about how the Jets have kept things really close to the vest. Wild card will be Shamar Stewart, who is one of the wild cards maybe of the entire draft. Texas A&M defensive lineman, 4.5 sacks in his entire career, exactly 1.5 in each of his 3 seasons at Texas A&M. But if you're ever looking for that test case of traits matter more in the eyes of evaluators than production, Shamar Stewart will be on the very front cover of that idea.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn, the new head coach, a defensive guy. But if they do go tight end, it would fill a need. Their tight ends combined for 601 receiving yards last season. It was just 26th in the NFL. Probably because not enough of them used to play for the Packers. Still ahead, quarterback Jackson Dart is a potential first-round pick in this year's draft. He's having a busy week. Visits with the Browns, who hold the 2nd overall pick, as well as the first pick of the 2nd round, and with the Raiders, who have the 6th overall pick. He's also spent time during this pre-draft process with the Giants, the Saints, and the Rams. So where does our Mel Kiper have Dart landing? Well, he has him landing with the Rams at 26th overall in his latest mock draft. Rams coach Sean McVay was asked about potential early round quarterbacks last week at the league meetings, and he had this to say.
I'll be honest with you, I haven't done a whole lot of work on the quarterbacks. I feel really good about where our quarterback room is, even though we're not naive to the fact that Matthews hopefully got a couple more years that he wants to play, but he's also earned the right to be able to say after this year, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and hang him up, but I'm hopeful that that's not the case. But I haven't done enough work to really have an educated opinion on that. That's not something that I would see us going, but maybe not, huh?
Marcus, he started by saying, I'm going to be honest, but was he?
No, y'all know as much as Sean McVay love offense, he done went through these quarterbacks 50 times trying to figure out if it's somebody that he can pull from.